A new hire demanded I do her work, snapping, I was hired for the title, not the tasks. That's what people like you are for. When I refused, she rolled her eyes, laughing, I'll just have my dad, your boss, fix this. Seconds later, her dad walked in, staring at her, then said, funny, because I was just about to fire you. I've worked in corporate finance at a mid-sized company in Chicago for almost 8 years. I started at the bottom, grinding my way up, learning everything I could. It's not the most exciting job in the world, but I know it inside and out. I get my work done, I keep my head down, and I don't cause problems. That's why I wasn't expecting Alyssa to come in and try to make my life a living hell. Alyssa was hired as a strategic finance coordinator, which sounded impressive on paper. It was an entry-level role, but with a fancy title, something that usually meant grunt work, a lot of spreadsheets, and dealing with reports that higher-ups didn't want to touch. Everyone in this role before her had been fresh out of college, eager to prove themselves and willing to learn. She was different. She walked into the office like she owned the place. She had this air of entitlement that you could feel the second she stepped into a room. It wasn't confidence. It wasn't even arrogance. It was expectation. Like she expected everything to be done for her. At first, I thought maybe I was overreacting. I try not to judge people too fast. Some people are just socially awkward. Maybe she was just nervous. But within an hour, I knew something was off. The first thing she did wasn't setting up her email or getting familiar with our software. No, she rearranged her office. She had furniture delivered. A whole new desk. A new chair. Even a coffee machine. It wasn't even lunch yet. Most new hires start by shadowing someone or getting set up with IT. Not Alyssa. She was too busy making herself comfortable. It was weird, but I still kept my mouth shut. If she wanted to waste her first day redecorating, that was on her. Then she called IT herself and demanded they move her desk closer to a window. We don't get assigned seating. You sit where you're placed. That's how it works. But she didn't like her spot. I can't work here, she said, rolling her eyes. This lighting is atrocious. I don't know what she expected, but IT basically laughed in her face and told her that was not happening. That's when she dropped the bombshell. My dad is Mr. Dalton, she said casually, like she was talking about the weather. He owns this place. Everyone went silent. Mr. Dalton is our boss. He's been with the company forever. He's tough but fair. He doesn't play favorites. He doesn't mess around. So hearing that she was his daughter, that changed things. I could already tell people were backing off, afraid to get on her bad side. She knew it too. She sat back in her brand new chair, smirking, acting like she was untouchable. By the second day, it was painfully obvious that she had no idea what she was doing. I was hired for the title, not the tasks. Normally, when someone starts a new job, they try to learn. They ask questions. They figure things out. Alyssa? She refused. When she got an email asking for a financial report, she forwarded it to me. No explanation. No context. Just forwarded it. I thought maybe she was confused, so I responded. Hey, do you need help with this? Her response? Ugh, yeah, I don't know how to do this. Just handle it for me, T-checks. I stared at my screen. Was she serious? This was her job. She wasn't my boss. She wasn't my superior. So I sent back, I can explain how to do it, but I can't do it for you. Her response? I was hired for the title, not the tasks. That's what people like you are for. People like me. I don't even know what that was supposed to mean, but I knew exactly what she was implying. She didn't see me as her coworker. She saw me as her assistant. She was expecting me to do her work while she sat back and took the credit. After that, she started forwarding everything to me. Reports, spreadsheets, emails. Hey, can you clean this up for me? IDK what these numbers mean, just fix it. Can you just finish this? I have a nail appointment. I ignored all of them. And that's when she got aggressive. She started walking over to my desk and dropping paperwork in front of me. You're good at this stuff, she said. It'll take you, 10 minutes? I pushed it right back. Not my job. She narrowed her eyes. It is now. I laughed. No, it's not. She rolled her eyes. Fine. I'll just have my dad fix this. And that's when it all went down. I didn't even have time to respond. Because the door swung open. And standing there was Mr. Dalton. Her dad. Our boss. And he had clearly heard everything. Alyssa's smug expression vanished. I didn't say a word. I just sat back, folded my arms and watched. He looked between the two of us, eyes dark. Then he focused right on her. Funny, he said, voice cold, because I was just about to fire you. The office was so quiet you could hear the hum of the air conditioning. Alyssa's face had completely drained of color. What? She stammered, blinking fast like she was trying to process what just happened. Mr. Dalton stepped fully into the room, his posture rigid, his face unreadable. He didn't look angry, he looked disappointed. And somehow, that was worse. "You heard me," he said, his voice clipped. "I was already considering letting you go. This just made my decision easier." I sat frozen in my chair, trying not to react. I wasn't sure if I was about to witness a live execution or if she was going to talk her way out of it. She tried. Oh, she tried. "Dad, Mr. Dalton," he corrected sharply. "Here, I am your boss. And right now, I am your former boss." Alyssa let out a short, nervous laugh. "Wait, you're not actually serious." "You wouldn't, I would," he cut in. "And I am." Her eyes darted toward me, and for the first time since she walked into this office, I saw something besides arrogance. Panic. Like she had just realized there were no lifelines left. She tried to switch tactics. Okay, she said, forcing a smile. "Maybe I messed up a little bit, but I can fix it. I'll do my own reports, I swear." I was settling in. I needed time to adjust. She laughed again, but it sounded fake. Mr. Dalton was not amused. "You had time. 3 weeks. And in that time, you proved that you don't want to work, you want to play office." Alyssa swallowed. I could almost hear her brain scrambling for excuses. And then, just when I thought she might actually accept what was happening, she did the dumbest thing possible. She flipped the script. Alyssa squared her shoulders and suddenly acted offended. "This isn't fair," she snapped. "You set me up to fail. Everyone here did." I almost choked on my own spit. She turned to me, glaring. "You were supposed to help me. But instead, you were rude and made me look stupid." I blinked. "You told me to do your work." "That's not what I meant," she snapped. "You twisted it." "You." Mr. Dalton raised a hand. "Enough." The way he said it? Cold. Sharp. Absolute. Alyssa shut her mouth so fast her teeth clacked together. "I hired you hoping you'd take this seriously," Mr. Dalton said. "Hoping you'd show initiative, prove yourself. Instead, you disrespected my employees, acted entitled, and wasted everyone's time, including mine." Alyssa shook her head, breathing fast. "But you can't fire me," she said, voice barely above a whisper. There it was. The real fear. "I can," he said. "And I am." Silence. Then, a sharp inhale from her. Her face twisted into something ugly. And then she said something that almost made me laugh out loud. "Mom's going to hear about this." Mr. Dalton didn't even flinch. "She already knows." I swear, you could feel the moment she realized she had lost. But she wasn't done. Not yet. Alyssa went red in the face. "You're seriously choosing some stupid employee over me?" she hissed. "I'm choosing the company over an employee who refuses to work," he corrected. She actually stomped her foot. "This is why everyone hates working for you," she shrieked. "You don't care about loyalty, you just, security will escort you out," he cut in. Her mouth slammed shut. "Pack your things," he said. "You have 10 minutes. And then, without another word, he turned and walked out. I sat there, still frozen, still processing. Alyssa just stood there, breathing heavily, hands clenched into fists. Then, suddenly, she snapped her gaze to me. "This is your fault," she seethed. My eyebrows shot up. "My fault?" She pointed at me like she was about to stab me through the air. "You humiliated me. You made him think I was incompetent." I scoffed. "You did that yourself." Her nostrils flared. For a second, I thought she was going to lunge at me. But instead, she turned on her heel, stormed into her office, and slammed the door so hard the walls shook. I sat there, still half stunned, as the rest of the office started whispering. I could hear Alyssa yanking open drawers, shoving things into a bag. Then, 5 minutes later, the security guard showed up. She tried to argue. "You can't make me leave. I'll call my lawyer. This is a hostile work environment." The security guard just crossed his arms and waited. And, eventually, she left. She stormed through the office, glaring at everyone. She even made it a point to shove my chair as she passed by. But all I did was sit there, watching as she walked out the front doors for the last time. And that should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Because Alyssa? She wasn't done with me yet. When Alyssa stormed out, I thought that was the last I'd ever see of her. I was wrong. It started small. A weird tension in the office. A feeling like people were watching me, whispering when I walked by. At first, I thought it was just because of what happened. Everyone had witnessed the boss's daughter get fired in real time. People would naturally gossip. But something felt off. Then, 2 days later, I found out why. I got called into HR. I wasn't worried at first. I had done nothing wrong. But when I walked into the office and saw the tight expressions on their faces, I knew something was coming. "HR manager, we received a complaint about workplace harassment." I blinked. "What?" "HR manager, An anonymous employee claims you created a hostile work environment, targeted them, and intentionally sabotaged their career. I stared. I could feel my brain stalling, trying to process. Are you talking about Alyssa? I finally asked. The HR manager didn't confirm, but the way she glanced at the file told me everything I needed to know. Unbelievable. She got herself fired, and now she was trying to blame me for it. I don't even know how to respond to that, I said, laughing a little. The HR manager folded her hands on the desk, her expression unreadable. Can you walk me through what happened between you and Alyssa? So I did. I laid everything out, the forwarded emails, the work dumping, the entitled attitude, the final blow-up where Mr. Dalton fired her. When I finished, the HR manager sighed. That's what I thought. Turns out, I wasn't the only one Alyssa had accused. She had sent multiple complaints, not just about me, but about IT, 2 junior analysts, and even the security guard who escorted her out. Every complaint was anonymously written, but it was obvious where they were coming from. The HR manager gave me a small nod. You don't have anything to worry about. I exhaled, relieved. But then she added, however, she's not done. Alyssa must have been sitting at home, stewing in her own bitterness, because by the end of the week, she took things public. I started getting messages from old coworkers. Hey, did you see this? Alyssa had gone on LinkedIn and written a long, emotional post about how she had been betrayed by toxic coworkers and forced out of a position she worked so hard for. She painted herself as a victim, a young, ambitious woman who had been bullied by senior employees who felt threatened by her presence. And the worst part? People believed it. Some of the comments were unhinged. Women in corporate spaces are always targeted. Stay strong, Alyssa. I had the same experience at my last job. Some people just don't want you to succeed. Whoever did this to you should be ashamed. I was floored. I watched as her posts started gaining traction. More likes. More comments. And then, I saw my name in the replies. Some random person had commented, "Who was the coworker that sabotaged you?" And Alyssa? She liked the comment. Then replied, "I'm not naming names, but some people just can't handle seeing others rise." People started digging. And within an hour, some internet detective found my LinkedIn and started tagging me. I suddenly had strangers messaging me. Some were supportive. Some were not. One person literally sent me, "I hope you get fired next. Enjoy your power trip while it lasts." I wanted to ignore it. I really did. But as the comments piled up, I felt the slow, burning rage in my chest. She lied. She twisted the truth. And now, complete strangers were attacking me because they thought she was some kind of corporate martyr. I had to do something. So I did. I went to Mr. Dalton. I showed him everything, the LinkedIn post, the messages, the harassment. He read through it in silence. Then he picked up his phone. I'll take care of it. I expected some corporate PR damage control. A generic post from the company saying, "We do not condone harassment in any form." But that's not what happened. Instead, the next morning, Mr. Dalton posted a response, not from the company page, but from his personal LinkedIn. And he didn't hold back. As the CEO of this company, I want to set the record straight. My daughter, Alyssa, was fired for misconduct. She refused to do her job, insulted employees, and abused her position. The false accusations she has made against her coworkers will not be tolerated. I stand by my employees, not entitlement. The internet exploded. Alyssa's supporters backtracked so fast it was almost funny. Suddenly, the comments on her post shifted. "Wait, your own dad fired you? That's embarrassing. So, you weren't fired because of bullying? You were just bad at your job." Deleting my comment, this ain't it. By the end of the day, Alyssa's post was gone. And just when I thought it was finally over, I got an email. From Alyssa. The subject line? "You ruined my life." The email, "You ruined my life." I stared at the subject line for a full minute before I opened it. It was long, way longer than I expected. Alyssa had poured everything out in this one message. And it wasn't an apology. It wasn't even a threat. It was a full-blown breakdown. From Alyssa Dalton to me subject, "You ruined my life. You probably think you won, right? You got me fired. You made my own father turn against me. And now you're probably laughing while my life falls apart. I hope you're happy. I wasn't trying to be mean to you. I didn't ask for this job. My dad just threw me into it because he thought it would teach me responsibility or some other nonsense. I didn't want to work there. I didn't even care about finance. But you had to make it personal. You could have helped me, but instead, you humiliated me. You made me look like an idiot in front of everyone. And now? Now, I have nothing. My dad won't return my calls. My mom says I brought this on myself. I can't even show my face on LinkedIn without people calling me a liar. And it's all because of you. Hope you're proud of yourself. I read the email twice. And for a second, I felt something. Not guilt, exactly, but something close. Because for the first time, Alyssa wasn't acting superior. She wasn't trying to manipulate or intimidate. She was broken. But then, I remembered everything. The way she had dumped her work on me like I was her servant. The way she had mocked me to my face. The way she had lied online, trying to ruin my reputation. And just like that, any sympathy disappeared. I didn't owe her a response. But I gave her one anyway. From me to Alyssa Dalton subject. You ruined my life, Alyssa. I didn't ruin your life. You did. You were given an opportunity, one most people would have killed for. Instead of working, you acted like the rules didn't apply to you. You disrespected your coworkers. You refused to learn. You tried to force me to do your job. And when you got fired, instead of taking responsibility, you blamed me. You didn't just lose a job. You lost everyone's respect. That's on you. I hope you learned something from this. I hit send. And then I closed my laptop, feeling nothing but relief. Alyssa never responded. Her LinkedIn? Deleted. Her social media? Wiped clean. She vanished from the corporate world like she had never existed. And Mr. Dalton? A few days later, he pulled me into his office. I want to apologize, he said. You shouldn't have had to deal with that. I didn't expect that. I didn't think he'd acknowledge it at all. It's not your fault, I said. It is, he admitted. I shouldn't have hired her. I thought if I gave her a chance, she'd rise to the occasion. But she didn't. He sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. You were right to stand your ground. And that meant more than anything. I wish I could say I felt victorious. That I walked away proud and triumphant. But the truth? It just felt sad. Alyssa wasn't a villain, she was a product of entitlement. She had never faced real consequences before, and when she finally did, she collapsed under the weight of them. But that wasn't my problem. I learned something that week. Some people think they're above the rules. Some think they can get away with anything. But sooner or later, reality catches up to them. And when it does, there's no one left to save them.